Please ignore the fact that this song is from Yoshi's Island, which should not be legal, and hear me out. Regardless of the character you play, there's always going to be that one person who asks, hey, what's me Gunner with 3221 Custom's best stage? And to be honest with you, the discussion kind of ends here. It's not uncommon for these people to get an answer and then go on their way without asking anything whatsoever about what makes that stage good. Unfortunately, this tends to go both ways, and a lot of players prioritize putting one stage above all others. Hell, I'm guilty of it myself. I don't care that your worst stage is Kalos. If I see FD, you already know where, and I died at 60. Okay, back to Yoshi's story. A lot of Greninja players have a flowchart that they stick to when it comes to stage picking. Start PS2, then counterpick FD, Kalos, or Town. While this can work in a lot of matchups, stages like Battlefield, Small Battlefield, and Lilat often go overlooked. And despite what some people might think, all of these stages have something to offer. Whether it's platform drag down up air combos, waveland ledge canceling, or aquajet ledge trapping, Greninja has an incredibly dynamic stage list. So what makes each one of these stages different? Believe it or not, there's a lot more going on here than, oh, this stage has 3 platforms, this stage has 2, and this stage has 1. No, there are a bunch of factors to consider, so let's tackle each of these one at a time. Okay, I know I just said there's a lot more going on here, but no, I cannot deny it. This stage has 1 platform, this stage has 2 platforms, and this stage has 3 platforms. Welcome to Counting with Appalachian. Now, before this turns into an ESAM video, let me elaborate on what that means.
67, 89, 21.
A lot of Greninja players tend to see platforms and think, no. Now, I know we love FD, but this isn't a very good take to have. Platforms offer a level of gameplay that we just don't have on stages like FD or the transitioning phase of Town. Greninja can put in so much work with platforms in every state of a match. Want some examples? Okay, sure. In neutral, you can run off with an aerial, drop through with an aerial, circle drop with an aerial, force your opponent to chase you, waveland, pretend that you're dropping through the platform but double jump waveland back onto it, double jump to stall out the opponent's respawn invincibility, or fake that you're going onto the platform altogether. This is just neutral, guys. I haven't even mentioned tech chases, frame traps, drag downs, or auto cancel up air combos. Greninja has so many ways to abuse platforms, and idolizing FD really limits you as a player. Something else to consider is that it's not just the number of platforms that matter, but the layout of those platforms as well. As an example, the platforms on Small Battlefield are going to see an insane amount of usage in neutral, advantage, and disadvantage. But if we take a look at the platforms on Kalos, these don't get used nearly as much. The way that the stage is laid out, standing on the side platforms of Kalos makes it so that you're very likely to get hit off stage. Because of this, you generally won't see players wavelining onto these platforms and doing something like circle drop back air at neutral. Where they do shine, however, is in advantage. A lot of Greninja combos honestly just work on these platforms. You're in a perfect position to get down tilt F smash, dare nair extensions, or shadow sneak tech chases. The same thing applies for PS2 and Small Battlefield. While the differences between these two stages may not seem like much, there's quite a bit that changes because of the way that the platforms are laid out. Greninja can set up into a guaranteed down tilt F smash on Small Battlefield, but can on PS2. Up tilt covers the platforms on Small Battlefield, but doesn't on PS2. Now, before you guys go off saying that Small Battlefield is a million times better than PS2 and Greninja should always pick it instead, remember, platforms aren't everything, and there's a lot more going on here. One of those things is stage size. The amount of space that you have to work with is very, very important in certain matchups. I went ahead and made this nice little chart to show you guys exactly what I mean. Let's go ahead and call P the amount of pressure that you'll face, and V the volume of the stage that you have to work with. As you can see, if the volume of the stage increases, the amount of pressure that you'll face decreases. And inversely, as the volume of the stage you have decreases, the pressure that you face increases. Now, before you guys accuse me of doing a quick Google search for Boyle's Law and stripping this chart from Khan Academy, I want you to do 2 things. First of all, realize that this is way more useful than anything related to thermodynamics, and second of all, ask yourself, how the fuck is Greninja supposed to interact with Sheik from over here? As you can see, I'm not pressured by Sheik at all because I have all of this stage to work with. Compare that to this positioning. Here, I'm in the threat range of Sheik's grab, down tilt, forward tilt, and nair. Volume decreases, pressure increases. There are certain matchups where Greninja doesn't ever want to be near the opponent because what they're able to get off of hit is much more rewarding than what Greninja is able to get off of hit. While being able to run away and toss out water shurikens the whole time does sound appealing, eventually your opponent is going to be able to close the gap. This is why stages like PS2 and Town can be so helpful if you're playing defensively. Having more room to work with allows you to abuse Greninja's movement and force your opponent to approach you. And this works both ways. Let's take a matchup like Samus, for example. This is a projectile character and she's going to be throwing absolutely everything at you. While Water Shuriken is a good projectile, it's not going to do anything versus missiles and charge shot. Now let's change our positioning to here. At this point, Samus is going to feel way more pressure than Greninja is. She's in the threat range of dash attack, down tilt, jab, forward tilt, and grab. And what's Greninja pressured by? Maybe dash attack and up B out of shield? Greninja gets way more options against Samus by closing the gap, and smaller stages like Smashville can be a really big help in doing that. Alright, I know I don't have the best reputation for addressing this topic, but let's talk about blast zones. From what I've seen, a lot of Greninja players honestly just skim over these. They'll look at a character like Pikachu and say, oh okay, down tilt up smash kills at 80 on FD, but 84 on Kalos. Not a big deal, right? While yes, that's only a water shuriken of a difference, they're not looking at the bigger picture here. Down tilt up smash might not get nerfed, but holy crap, up air does. If you've ever wondered why you weren't able to kill Bowser at 210, this is the reason. Despite how good you might think Greninja's up air is, it's pretty damn weak. And unless you're literally double jumping into your opponent as you connect the multi-hits, it'll almost never kill. Oh, you thought I meant on Kalos? No, this is FD. That's how weak this move is. If you're playing on Kalos and manage to consistently kill off the top with stray up airs, maybe you should consider picking up Hero with how lucky you are. But in all seriousness, Greninja is a juggling machine, and stripping yourself from one of your two main ways to kill off of the top blast zone can really limit how you're able to close out stocks. If you want to compare that with what you're able to get on stages with low ceilings, I don't know. It's not like I made a video explaining how you're able to consistently kill with up air at 50 or anything. This isn't to say that high ceilings can't help you though. There are a lot of matchups where you're straight up just not going to be killing off of the top blast zone because of factors like a character's fall speed or air speed. And maybe those same characters have something that can kill you super early, like their own up airs or ladder combos. In these cases, sure, go ahead and take Kalos or Town. Just don't come crying to me when Bowser's still alive at 210. And guess what? Blast zones don't end there. Side blast zones are also something to consider. Believe it or not, side blast zones determine a lot more than whether or not down tilt F smash will kill at ledge. I don't think it's an overstatement at all to say that back air is one of Greninja's most versatile moves, and you can find a use for it in almost every situation. Neutral, back air. Edge guarding, back air. Ledge trapping, back air. Yeah, this thing's cracked. Now, what if we could take this move and make it even better? Stages with smaller side blast zones like PS2, Lilat, and Town can allow for it to kill even earlier. Let's take a lightweight like Sora for example. From neutral get up position on FD with proper DI, a backer will kill at 154, and on Town it'll kill at 142. It might not sound like much, but that's a pretty significant difference, especially when you consider the number of ways that Greninja has to set up for a back air. From dash attacks, down throws, or just occasional edge guards, you're going to be taking stocks very early. So all of these applications in which you'll be using back air, yeah, Greninja benefits quite a bit. This is the reason I personally believe that Town has an argument for being a better stage for Greninja than Kalos. These side blast zones are just so helpful. Combined with the way that the platforms are laid out, Greninja has so many ways to extend his combos and close out stocks. While there are some similarities between the second phase of Town and Kalos, you'd be surprised how much of a difference these blast zones can make. On Town, you kill at 50 and you're happy. On Kalos, you don't kill and you're sad. And trust me, you don't want to be sad. It might not seem like much, but even bottom blast zones can play a pretty sizable role in different matchups. It's all up to you to know what your preferences are and weigh these factors when it comes to choosing a stage. So yeah, blast zones! Next up on the agenda, we've got walls. Now these 90-degree shits might not seem like much, but dude, Greninja can use them so well. How many of you knew that Greninja is one of 6 characters that has a wall cling? Crazy, right? What's even crazier is the number of ways that Gren can abuse this. Whenever you hear people talking about wall clings, they'll usually just go over recovery applications, but trust me, there's a lot more beyond this. But while we're here, let's talk about how wall clinging can help Greninja's recovery. Whenever you enter wall cling, you have 3 options: drop down, wall jump, or wall cling jump. And whenever you choose that last option, you pretty much take your already massive jump height and give yourself an extra jump off stage. Yeah, you heard me right. This doesn't use Greninja's double jump at all. So if you ever want to channel your one-winged frog, here you go. Alright, so how does this extend our recovery? If you're ever recovering low and don't want to go to ledge, you can surprise your opponent by wall clinging into a double jump onto the stage. And remember head bonking, guys? Yes, funny, haha. Head bonking into a wall cling can help you to extend your recovery so that you can go even deeper for edge guards while still getting back to the stage. The fact that you can use one recovery option into another recovery option,
that's pretty good.
And of course, you don't have to jump out of the wall cling immediately. You're free to wait out any threats like two framing options before making your way back to the ledge. This offers a level of recovery mix-ups that can help you out so much in matchups where you're constantly threatened off stage. The only thing I'll say about this is that you want to be careful about how you position your jump to ledge from a wall cling. You can't actually snap to ledge until you reach the peak of your jump, and this allows for the opponent to hit you much more easily. But remember, you're not actually forced to jump out of a wall cling, and you're free to drop down and hydro pump back to the ledge so that you don't overshoot it. Okay, that's wall cling usage number 1 of 4. Next up, we've got stalling. People are not taking note of how much Greninja can stall off stage with walls. Everyone just wants to rush in, but dude, there are situations where the opponent has an advantage for a bit, and not interacting isn't a bad idea at all. Take Cloud with Limit, for example. For 15 seconds, this dude goes full anime mode and his movement gets buffed in every category. And if that wasn't enough, he now has 4 final smashes that he can use on you. Now what sounds better? Being chased down by a character with smash meter on who has a better run speed and airspeed, or just chilling off stage while it runs out? Wall clinging gives us that option, and people don't realize that you can stall off stage for longer than this. Guys, you can stall off stage for the full duration of Cloud's Limit. So for those 15 seconds, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and head to the kitchen, get some water, grab a snack, load up a YouTube video, give it a watch, leave it a comment, take a nap, wake up, make some eggs, go for a run, take a shower, brush my teeth, do some homework, call my mom, work on this video, and then come back. And oh look, Cloud's Limit's gone. So why does this work? Going off stage as some characters is a pretty big risk, and Greninja's kit gives them a ton of ways to reversal the opponent. So if they ever try challenging you, they're literally one down air, drag down up air, or hydro pump away from losing their stock. Now, some of you guys might be asking, what's stopping the opponent from going down there and spiking you? Here's the answer. This fucking wall! Assuming that you can hit your techs, this wall protects Greninja pretty damn well. Run off back air, press shield. Run off down air, press shield. Run off cross slash, you guessed it, press shield. And what's extra good about walls is that they make it that much harder for the opponent to kill you as you recover. How many times have you tried recovering with hydro pump only to get spiked? I know MGW can relate. Literally DIing in towards the wall and pressing shield lets you survive this every time. The fact that Ganon's down air is still techable at 115 should go to show you. Yeah, walls are good. And from here, remember, your opponent's in end lag and you're not. So if you want to do some fancy shit, here's your chance. Alright, so now you might be thinking to yourself, wait, doesn't this nerf Greninja's edge guarding too? And the answer to that is no, not really. Think about it. How many times can you say that you've ever gotten a spike off stage with Greninja's down air? It happens like once in a blue moon. Giving your opponent the chance to take a move that you never use isn't going to make that move any worse. Now what might get affected is a spike hitbox from Substitute, but considering that you'll usually be off stage and nowhere near the wall when you land this, I think it's fair to say that walls do more good for Greninja than harm. The final thing that I'm going to talk about is the amount of options that walls can give Greninja off of ledge. So Greninja already has a very good ledge hang, but if you want to make it even better, here's what you do. Yeah, that's it. So that arm that's normally getting us hit by down tilts at ledge, as a scout from TF2 once said, "You can't hit what ain't there." Apart from some character specific options, a large part of the roster straight up can't challenge you for doing this. What they can do is a run off back air, but remember, one tech and they're in end lag while you're not. So while rock crocking may have been patched, frog hopping is fair game. So what can you do from this position? There's quite a bit, so let's start with jumping. Whenever you enter a wall cling, there's this orange circle that shows up, and this is a pretty good indicator. While the circle is there, you only have 2 options to exit the wall cling: wall jump and wall drop. Once the circle disappears, you have access to your wall cling jump. And as we said, this doesn't use your double jump. So from this position, you still have access to ledge jump, and you even keep your double jump if you're hit out of it. So that's the basis of all these other options I'm gonna cover. Normally from a ledge jump, if you were to air dodge, there's a decent window at the start where you're vulnerable. And on top of that, there's a pretty big window to get hit after the air dodge ends. If you wall cling low enough, you can position yourself to jump and time an air dodge so that the opponent doesn't have a window to hit you at all. So if you really want to get back to stage, this is an option. Another option that you have access to is Shadow Sneak. If you start charging this move towards the stage before you enter wall cling, you can jump out of the wall cling and teleport to center stage. In time properly, you can completely reversal your opponent for a kill. So these two options might sound fun and all, but they get overshadowed by this last one. Normally from ledge, if Greninja were to do a drop down aerial, he'd have to do it through forward air. And compared to a lot of other forward airs, it's pretty easy to see this coming. I mean, this move has 16 frames to start up, and that's not even including the frames that you have to spend dropping from ledge for it to actually connect. Man, what if we could use back air instead? Oh wait, we can! Wall clinging turns us around and actually gives us that option. So if your opponent whiffs something while ledge trapping you, here you go, free back air onto the stage. Don't get me wrong, this option is good and all, but there's an even better one that you can use to get off of ledge. Let me go ahead and show you guys. Oh, did you miss that? Here, let me do it again. Yeah, that's not reactable. If you play a character that has access to an instant wall jump, this might seem like old news. But for us Greninja players, oh boy, that's big. Greninja doesn't have access to instant wall jumps, so being able to do an instant wall cling can really help him get off of ledge. So the inputs for this are as follows. Fast fall from the ledge, into a wall cling, wall jump, then double jump back air. The reason we do this from a wall jump is because of the orange circle. Instead of having to spend 6 frames waiting for it to go away, you could just wall jump into a double jump immediately. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for walls, and as you can see, there's a lot more to them than just recovery applications. Oh man, this is gonna be a very interesting topic to address. So slants have a very awkward reputation in the Smash community, mainly because of a certain stage. And while people may still have problems with Lilat, I think it's unfair to look at slants as an overall negative because of just one stage. People are very quick to bash on these things, and there's actually a lot of benefits to them that go overlooked. So let's start with why they're often hated. The main complaint that I see about slants is that you can't jab lock on them. And yeah, you're not wrong. If you try to jab lock an opponent on a slant, they'll pop right out of the missed tech animation without giving you a punish. But believe it or not, there's actual counterplay to this. Now, just as a fair warning, what I'm about to show you guys might come across as a mind-blowing discovery, so prepare yourselves. Alright, ready? Here it goes. If the dude's gonna miss the tech, just fucking hit him. Jab locks are so overrated, it's insane. The thing about going for a jab lock is that you're only covering one option, which is a missed tech. And if you're willing to throw your entire advantage state out the window for that, I don't see any reason not to cover the option with something else. Jab locks give you the reward of 5% into a forward smash. But you know what's better than that? Charging a forward smash. This will kill way earlier than a jab lock and even covers tech in place. And if your opponent techs in the corner, hey, it also covers tech roll away. And guys, it's not like slants are unpredictable either. If you notice that you're dragging your opponent down towards a slant, maybe you should take a second to say, oh hey, there's a slant here. Let me not throw away my advantage state and cover his option with something like a down tilt. Boom, problem solved. All slants do is make you have to think a little bit more creatively. And I don't know, it's not like you still have all of center stage to work with. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, wait, how can I do drag down jab 1 frame traps on slants? And while this may come across as a decent question, I've already broken down why this isn't always the best option here. Tech in place doesn't give much reward, DI out keeps dash attack up air from connecting, and pop-up animations can cause the jab lock to whiff. Not as rewarding as you might have thought, right? Instead of this, dash forward, down tilt, and dash attack are very good since they'll cover 3 out of 4 options while still leading to confirms. Okay, 3 out of 4 isn't bad, but how can we get 4 out of 4? Not sure if you guys noticed, but slants are usually positioned at the end of the stage. And if you ever force a tech chase there, you can cover all 4 tech options with down smash for a much bigger reward than jab 1. Back in Smash 4, people had the mindset of platforms are bad because Greninja can't footstool, and now in Ultimate it seems to be slants are bad because he can't jab lock. It's actually crazy how much people value being hype over being practical. Alright, so the next most common complaint about slants I see is that you're not able to use water shuriken on them. If you charge a water shuriken, the stage will eat it and you'll be left open for a punish. Easy fix for you guys. Instead of standing way the hell back here, just stand over here. From this position, shurikens will go right over the slants without being eaten by the stage at all. If you guys want the optimal positioning for this on Lilat, here's a trick. We're going to use these side platforms as a reference. preference. If you stand in the middle underneath them, you're free to use Water Shuriken all day long without it getting eaten by the stage. And in a bit here, I'm going to tell you guys why this is so good. The only thing I will say is that the max charge of Water Shuriken does seem to have a larger vertical hitbox compared to the other charges. And this means that it will clank with the stage. Any other charge of Water Shuriken, including the final possible frame before a full charge, will not clank. But considering that a full clank Shuriken is -1 on shield and has combo potential, hey, take that however you see fit. And yeah, that's about it for the negatives of Slants. Now on to the positives. First of which, low profiling. Compared to a lot of other characters like Falcon, ZSS, and Snake, Greninja's pretty short. While this might be a bad thing when it comes to making a Tinder bio, this is actually very good in the world of Smash. Being small makes it so that a lot of moves just straight up won't hit him. This really changes the way that the opponent has to play the game, since certain tools like rising aerials, out of shield options, or even landing options can completely whiff against a grounded Greninja. Despite this, there are a lot of moves that Greninja just barely isn't able to low profile, and even more that he's not able to crouch under. Like, dude, how's Fox Laser even hitting me right now? This is where slants come into play. If we were to go onto Lilat and try the exact same thing but crouching on a slant instead, look at that. I'm not being hit by laser at all. Now let's try it with a more threatening projectile like Wolf Blaster. Oh cool, how about Hadu? Okay, that works too. Being able to crouch under a projectile instead of having to shield or jump over it gives you another option to play around it. And by the way, notice how I'm barely on these slants, yet none of these moves are able to hit me. If you combine this with Water Shuriken, you're able to play the long range game while your opponent isn't. Pretty solid, right? Let's make it even better. Have you ever played the Kirby matchup and had trouble connecting your forward airs because of how short he is? Let's go ahead and turn into Kirby real quick. Alright, so check this out. All I'm gonna do is stand on the slants. And yeah. By literally standing here, I just got rid of half of Sephiroth's neutral. This is literally a frame perfect forward air, by the way, meaning that it's actually impossible for Sephiroth to hit me right now. Maybe missing out on Javelocks doesn't seem all that bad, but the thing is, this transitions to so many moves, and your opponent's gonna have a much harder time hitting you. Rising aerials, falling aerials, and landing options. I don't think Greninja can learn minimize, but good luck hitting me when I'm only 2 inches tall. Speaking of being harder to hit, sometimes when recovering, you get 2-framed and it sucks. A lot of characters just have very good lingering 2-framing options, while us Greninja players are stuck with down tilt and down smash. So instead of buffing our 2-framing options, why don't we take notes from Sakurai and just nerf theirs? A lot of strong 2-framing options happen to be F-tilts, and slants can really mess with them. If you try using forward tilt on slants, you'll see that most characters can't even reach the ledge. And the same thing applies for angled forward tilts. This means that you're able to get back to the ledge while taking away some very strong 2-framing options. Just to name a few, you don't have to worry about DK, Link, Pika, Bowser, Pichu, Wario, Wolf, Carol, or Joker 2-framing you with F-tilt anymore. And on top of that, the same thing applies for forward smashes. Mario, Sonic, Carol, and Byleth? Yeah, they're not reaching you. The one thing to note though is that this does actually buff down smashes and down tilts. While the active frames of these moves don't change at all, the attacking on slants makes these two reach a bit lower than normal. But considering how little reward this can give some characters compared to their forward tilts, that's a fair trade-off a lot of the time. And in case you haven't noticed, everything I've said about 2-framing also goes for ledge trapping. If you want to trade being hit by a character's forward tilt for their down tilt, feel free. Something that might be worth noting is that a lot of characters' down tilts are already going to hit your ledge hang. So playing on stages with slants can take one of their stronger ledge trapping options out of the equation entirely. Weigh it as you see fit, and maybe consider going to a stage with slants if you think it's worth it. So you know how Greninja's grab game at 0 isn't very good? Slants fix that. Against a handful of characters, down throw pops them up while forcing them to go back onto the ground. What makes this so good is that they're forced to hit the ground and enter landing lag, giving Greninja a guaranteed dash attack. This is called no tumble. And as good as this sounds, this only works on a quarter of the roster, but slants can make it work on even more characters. If you grab an opponent while standing on the lower part of the slant, you're able to force a no tumble window with down throw. And from here, you get a nice 40% from a grab. It's nothing game breaking, but considering that it's the equivalent of 8 unstill up throws in a row, I'll take that any day of the week. Alright, you've been waiting for it. Welcome to the Apple Ocean part of the video where I ran about Hydro Pump for 7 minutes straight. No, I'm just kidding, it's not going to be that much. So, slants have some very interesting properties when it comes to Hydro Pump ledge cancels. What makes these so good compared to normal ledge cancels is that you land on the stage right after the pump and can perform any grounded option out of it. I'm not going to go over every application, but if you've seen some of the shit you can do with this, you already know. Slants have so much potential with Hydro Pump. From movement options to ledge trapping to combo potential, yeah, these things are something else. And that's something else to think of. potential. The amount of interactions that I've had on Slants and thought, wow, how can I break the game with this, is kind of crazy. As the meta evolves, we're only gonna find more ways to abuse these things and break the game even more. Guys, stop sleeping on Slants. Greninja's not Peach who loses float combos and ledge trapping on them, he's not Chrom who can't recover on them, and he's not Mewtwo who can't use Shadow Ball on them. Slants give Greninja so many opportunities, and neglecting them isn't doing you any favors. Alright, I've been ranting about all these factors that come into play when choosing a stage for what, like 25 minutes now? Jeez, this is gonna be a long video. How the hell does this all apply to Yoshi's story? Let's go down the checklist and see what this stage has to offer. The first thing to note is the platform layout. At first glance, you might think that this falls into the small battlefield PS2 category, where the platforms are just laid out a tiny bit differently, but no. The differences between the platforms on Battlefield and Yoshi's story are pretty significant. The plats on Yoshi's story are actually higher than the ones on Battlefield, meaning that up tilt won't connect. This might sound like a negative, but dude, that's a pretty good trade-off for what I'm about to show you. If you're playing your cards right as Greninja, dash attack tech chases on triplats are so good. You're able to take your opponent for a ride with these things while still keeping the advantage state after reaching the top platform. The thing about this though is that in a lot of situations, the opponent isn't forced to tech at all. They're free to jump out, auto cancel an aerial, or sometimes even hit you out of startup on Nair. This is because the position that they're able to first act from is just above the height of the platform. Stages like Smashville fix this by having a higher platform height, but you're not able to extend for much of a follow-up after the Nair. But on Yoshi's story, this is forced. And from here, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and ladder you for 70. And if your opponent gives you the tech chase on the top platform, holy crap. There are so many ways that you can follow up for damage or even convert into a kill. And check this out. Another difference in the platforms is that on Yoshi's, they actually reach over the ledge. So if your opponent chooses a tech in this direction, they're already off stage. This gives you a free stab at an edge guard from one neutral interaction at low percents. Greninja has so many ways to convert on this stage, it's insane. Remember how I was talking about the ways that Slants can help to screw over your opponent's two-framing options? Let's talk about how platforms can mess with their neutral options. Greninja is able to abuse his movement and make very, very good usage of triplats in ways that the opponent often can't. The way that opponents usually try to deal with this is by throwing out an attack that covers the platform or by waiting for Greninja to run off into something like an up tilt. Yoshi's story gives Greninja some very good ways to deal with this. Check this out. If Falco uses a short hop back air on Battlefield, he'll cover pretty much half of the platform with the move. This can limit how you're able to move on plats, because unless you want to die at 80, you have to respect the fact that half of the platform is off limits. Now let's compare that to Yoshi's story. Wait, is that the same back air? Yeah. The platform being this high up means that Falco is only able to connect with this tiny little hitbox that covers, what, like 10% of the platform? Feel free to move around. This thing is nowhere near as big of a threat. Okay, so some of you guys might be thinking, this sounds good and all, but wouldn't that mean that the same applies for Greninja's back air? No, not at all. Frog privilege. Greninja has the highest short hop out of any character, meaning that his backer will always cover the platform. If we compare its hitbox on Battlefield to Yoshi's, yep, just as good. And that's not to mention that it lingers or that you can move with it. So if you want to cover the whole platform, not a problem. Also, notice these slants here? Greninja's short hop lasts for 32 frames, but if you jump onto a slant, it'll last for 35 frames. You know what's so good about frame 35? Back air now auto cancels. So if you want to keep up the pressure after covering the platform with back air, easy. You don't have to wait out the landing lag at all. Now, a lot of up tilts have the same problem as short hop back airs on Yoshi's. They're able to reach the platform, but they're nowhere near as big of a threat. But take a look at this. If I stand here towards the end of the platform, Snake can't hit me. The slants underneath the platform lower his y-axis so that his up tilt can't even reach me from here. Everything on this stage just works together. Now, only if the platforms didn't keep up smash. Oh shit. Yeah, this stage might be busted. Yoshi's story also fills a nice little niche when it comes to stage size. As I said earlier, having smaller size stages can help a ton when it comes to approaching in certain matchups. This would mean that Smashville is good for this, but... So what's the next smallest stage? Oh boy, it's a 5-way tie between FD, Battlefield, Small Battlefield, Kalos, and Lilat. Yeah, you heard me right. Even Small Battlefield is the same size as regular Battlefield. Smash Ultimate is truly something else. Man, only if there is a stage smaller than Smashville. Wait. In comes Yoshi's story. From the available choices on the competitive stage list, this stage is actually even smaller than Smashville. Why do people not know this? It probably has something to do with the platform layout, but a lot of people look at Yoshi's and say,
this ain't Yoshi's story, why do I feel like a toy?
But no, this stage is actually very small. And on top of that, it's small with platforms. Platforms that don't take up half of the stage. Platforms that up smash connects on. This is a very good combination because Greninja has all these angles that he can approach from while still being able to use his movement to close gaps. Not many characters have the vertical mobility that Greninja does. For him, getting to the top platform is as simple as doing a quick double jump. Other characters like Snake and Wolf, on the other hand, have to literally start doing parkour to try to reach Gren. And by the time that they get up there, yeah, he's gone. While this stage might be small, the platforms also make it incredibly open for Greninja. And if you're playing against a character that doesn't have the same mobility that Gren does, you're free to run circles around them or chase them down all day. Next up on the checklist, we've got blast zones. So remember how I said that high ceilings can hurt Greninja and limit how he's able to close out stocks? Battlefield is tied for the stage with the highest ceiling, and you'd be surprised how rarely you're able to kill off of the top despite having triplats. And I mean, yeah, that makes sense. A triplat stage with low ceilings would be absolutely busted, right? Oh, fuck. Yeah, this stage is fucked. So real talk, these blast zones are absolutely cracked. This stage has the same ceiling height as on FD, and if that wasn't enough, for some reason they decided to make the top platform even higher than on Battlefield. Bro, what? So any combo you have that ends in up air, you're gonna be killing very early. And remember those auto cancel up air combos I found a while back? Considering that these side platforms are even higher than the ones on PS2. No, stop, that's copyrighted! I biat. Okay, 2 seconds, guys. Дмитрий, извини, что я использовал твою песню. Просто у нас в Америке есть такое понятие, как fair use. Как твой, я просто хочу ебать и лепить контент, поэтому не подай в суд на меня, пожалуйста. Спасибо большое, братан. Okay, we should be good. But anyways, you get my point. You get all the benefits of a triplat stage while still having the blast zones of FD. And if you ask me, yeah, that's pretty broken. There's not too much to say about the walls on Yoshi's, apart from the fact that, yeah, there are walls on Yoshi's. Kalos and PS2 are the only two other stages with walls, and even then, PS2 is pushing it. The location of the walls on PS2 makes it to where Greninja's not able to abuse them nearly as much as he's able to on Kalos. This means that for all intensive purposes, Yoshi's is one of 2 stages that allows for Greninja to extend his recovery, tech spikes, ledge drop wall cling, and instant wall cling back air. On top of this, the walls work together with the platforms and slants. Normally on Battlefield, if you were to run off a platform and toss out a beer versus shuriken, you'd be forced to hit the ground right in front of your opponent. And if they shield it, yeah, you're eating a punish. But on Yoshi's, you actually have that option. If you want to end up on stage after the shuriken, you can drift in that direction as you toss it out. And if not, you can just drift back off stage. Normally, going off stage as you do this isn't a good idea, since you have to either go to ledge or rely on your forward air to get back onto the stage. But look at that, there's a wall right there. And remember what you're able to do off of walls? Instant back air to cover yourself as you make your way back to the stage. And that's not to say that you're forced to go to the stage either. You're even able to make it back onto this platform and run more circles around your opponent. That's something you can't say about Kalos. And if using these slants to nerf your opponent's 2 framing options wasn't enough, now you have walls to work with to wait out those options. Dude, this stage just works. The final point on this checklist, saving the best for last, right? I've already shown you a ton of ways that Greninja can make use of slants, and this stage just takes it up a notch. Slants on Yoshi's are a bit different than on Lylat in that there's not nearly as much slant action going on here. And because of that, this stage will never eat water shuriken. You can stand as far back here as you like, and anything other than a full charge will go right over. Again, this is super good because on top of being able to play the long range game, you're able to low profile any threats that make their way towards you. Couple that with the fact that you can low profile moves and easily chase down your opponent, and wait, this stage is broken. Something else to note about slants is that you can actually activate substitute from the stage here. There are certain matchups where being able to do a diagonal counter at ledge would be very nice. If the move fucking worked, on flat stages, trying to diagonal counter just ends up in nothing happening a lot of the time. Greninja starts to kick, but he bounces right off of the ledge before anything happens. And that chance at killing your opponent for recovering? yeah, that's gone. What you can do is counter straight down, but a lot of the time you're putting yourself at the risk of trading your stock, which isn't worth it. Let's get to Yoshi's story. Here, the lip of the stage means that you're actually able to get counter out without doing 15 to the ground. You'd be surprised how many kills can present themselves this way, and whenever you go back to flat stages, bro. Wait, how do I say this in English? Fuck it, você vai ter saudade. So the last thing about Slants on this stage, Hydro Pump. Welcome to the actual Appalachian part of the video. So this slant cancel here is super fucking good, and it can add so much to Greninja's neutral. Against floaty or aerial based characters, Hydro Pump is an incredibly good tool. Literally connecting one bubble from this move is enough to throw off the opponent's entire neutral and get you momentum. So what if we were able to do this covering the entire stage for free with no end lag? Is that too much to ask for? Nah, Papa Lotion's got you covered. If you waveline onto this platform and fastball with the C-stick aerial towards center stage, you're able to Hydro Pump in this direction while canceling off of the slant. And in doing that, a few things happen. First of which is that you're ending the pump with no end lag on stage. That's huge in itself. Most opponents will see Hydro Pump and think, oh look, he's in 32 frames of end lag. Let me go in for a punish. That's when you capitalize and get an interaction. And if you don't want to be aggressive out of the pump, that's totally fine. Go ahead and take your positioning where you're free to low profile and toss out uninterrupted water shurikens at your opponent. Something else to note is that canceling on the slants actually leaves you airborne for a tiny bit. So you can do something like a waveland down tilt for that tiny extra bit of burst range. And on top of that, you can double jump out of this and instantly change your momentum without having to enter 3-frame jump squat. And from here, if you really want to, go ahead and waveland and do it again. You go across the stage in half a second while applying all of this pressure. So looking at the actual pump itself, if your opponent decides to jump in neutral, you're very likely to throw off their landing with this move. And from here, you can just be Greninja and catch their landing. So what happens if they decide to shield it? Hey guys, Apple from the future here. So I had this nice whole section of the video dedicated to collision mechanics and what to do if your opponent shields the pump. Originally, I thought that these collision mechanics were unpredictable and meant that it's up in the air as to whether or not you get the slant cancel. But after further labbing, I found the determining factor for it. So check this out. We're gonna use Bowser as a reference since he has one of the largest collision boxes in the game. If he's standing here, I'm able to get the slant cancel. And if he's standing here, I'm also able to get the slant cancel. But if he's standing here, I don't get the cancel. Let's turn on hitboxes and look at what's going on here. There are 4 hitboxes on Pump, and this third one is the kicker. If Greninja's collision box is inside of Bowser as this part of Pump comes out, this shifts him slightly left or right and keeps him from getting the cancel. So if Bowser's standing at this range, you're not able to hit it. But in any other position, including if Bowser's in the middle of a dash, yeah, you can get it every time. Okay, so how does this change if the opponent shields? Not at all. Shields in Ultimate don't have collision boxes. Characters do. So if your opponent shields, you're totally free to pump through them and still hit the cancel. And on top of that, this cancel actually makes pump positive on shield. So you're free to act out immediately while your opponent is still stuck in shield stun. But what if the opponent shields pump and you don't get the cancel? Take it away, Passapo. Thanks, me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm still here. But for real this time. Hydro Pump is actually one of Greninja's safest moves on shield. The move consists of 4 bubbles, and these things will actually lock the opponent in shield. Okay, but that's minus 25. How am I gonna avoid a punish? Dude, you're way the hell over here. Consider for a second that there's 11 frames of shield drop, and even something like Greninja's initial dash takes 14 frames. In that window, you're already out of end lag. The way that the opponent punishes you for this is by throwing out an attack that interrupts the pump. But this is where the fun begins. Remember that setup I told you about? If your opponent catches on, they'll notice you pumping after the C-stick aerial. And if they preemptively swing an attack, just don't pump. This platform drop aerial conditions the opponent to play around pump, and you can use that against them. Something else about the aerial is that you're free to choose. Do you want to auto cancel with it, or do you want to toss out a hitbox? If you want to cover yourself as you set this up, you can use back air. And if you just want to go into it immediately, you can auto cancel land with a forward air. All you have to do is be mindful of the way that you waveland onto the platform. Depending on what you want and where you're approaching the platform from, you can roar into a waveland to get that option. And if you want to be extra secretive about the slant cancel, here's something fancy you can do. If you find a way to hold down the A button by doing something like a tilt or an aerial, you can store this for the setup. From here, if you waveland onto the platform and drop with the C-stick input, you'll see shift into slant cancel position without tossing out an aerial at all. So if your opponent associates the pump with the aerial, you're able to catch them off guard. Dude, there are so many layers to the slant cancel, it's insane. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for my comments on Yoshi's story as a whole. So final thoughts. As I said, there are plenty of factors to consider when it comes to choosing a stage, and a lot of those depend on the matchup. While I do think that Yoshi's story has a ton to offer Greninja, some characters just happen to benefit from it even more. And in cases like these, I don't blame you at all for going to another stage. But at the same time, I feel that a lot of Greninja players are doing a disservice to the stage list by essentially cutting their options in half. Being dynamic in stage selection can help you out so much, and it's really unfortunate to see stages like Yoshi's being slept on for just not being FD. Even if you don't want to go to Yoshi's in bracket, I encourage you guys to give it a try in friendlies. I've already gone ahead and shown you guys a ton of reasons that this stage can benefit Greninja, and nothing gets accomplished if we don't go out there and start applying this information. If you still dislike Yoshi's, hey, I hope that at the very least I could give you some insight on Greninja's stage selection and details that often go overlooked. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I did not expect to make a fucking movie out of this, but wow, so much effort has gone into this project, and I really hope that you guys appreciate it. Hopefully it wasn't too much of an information overload, because yeah, I'm just recording the audio right now, and this is probably gonna be the longest Smash related video I've ever uploaded. And we covered a fuck ton. By the way guys, I'm sorry for having been gone for so long. This keeps happening, but I really value the quality of my videos, and I don't want to under-deliver with my content. You all subscribe for the depth and effort that goes into them, so at the very least, I owe it to all of you to make my videos as top-notch as possible. And also, I don't want to become a shorts channel. Alright guys, thank you all for watching, and thank you for your continued support throughout 2021. Hopefully I'll see you all back here in 2022 with even more frog content. But until then, take care, and most importantly,
Hold in.